Parliament throughout this pandemic. How do you feel that it's this so-called Partygate that has now potentially, well, at least extremely damaged the PM? We don't know yet whether it will finish him off or not. Is there an irony in that?
Yeah, I think there is. And look, one of the reasons I've taken the position I have, and I wrote to Sir Graham Brady and voted against the Prime Minister yesterday, although, that's yesterday's fight, is because I took the rules very seriously. I voted against them a number of times, but my view was, if the government's going to make rules and it's going to tell the public it's got to follow them, actually the government and the Prime Minister should have been the people following them the most carefully. And if they felt they were really tough rules and inappropriate, then they shouldn't have applied them to everybody else. And I think it is important that those that make the rules follow them. Even though I voted against the rules, once Parliament had put them into law, I followed them. And I think most members of Parliament did that. But I think there is a reflection about whether they were the right rules. But the point is, we insisted that everyone in the country followed them. So it's no good for ministers now arguing they were too harsh. If we said the country should follow them, then the people that ran the country should have followed them.
And I understand that point, but I actually wish we were having a discussion in this country. And, of course, this is why we've been running this lockdown inquiry all year. And we've had lots of people on from all sides of the spectrum, by the way, because Matt Hancock has given evidence, so has Lord Frost, and there are two ministers throughout that period who have completely different views on lockdowns. But I actually wish, Mark, we were talking more about the fact that those rules were wrong, because I think we can now see that they were wrong in so many ways, the mental health effects, the economic effects, but it feels like, we just want to move on. We just want to forget about it, but I worry we're not going to learn the lesson.
No, I think it's important we do. And Steve Baker and I have written to Baroness Hallett, and we've said that we want to give evidence to the public inquiry.
And will they allow you?
Well, we've written to her and we've said we'll give evidence in whatever way she thinks is appropriate. I don't know whether she'll decide that should be in writing or whether Steve and I will be asked to go and give oral evidence. And we've said we particularly want to focus on the aspects you're concerned about, the laws that were made, the governance, how the government weighed those decisions up. That is in her terms of reference, so I hope she'll want to hear from us. And I think we should have that debate because, you and I had these conversations at the time. You took a lot of criticism on social media, as did we. And all we were doing was asking some sensible questions, making sure the government was balancing the necessity to protect people from COVID, but also the social harms, the harms to other health conditions,
and the damage to the NHS overall.
And that's all we were asking for. And, I remember at the time, when I had the temerity to question some of the lockdown models, which turned out to be completely wrong because the assumptions were not realistic, bits of the government were briefing out that, we wanted to kill 90,000 people, which is rather offensive coming from the other side. But we were right.
Well, you were right, because I actually went back today and read some of your demands over the course of the pandemic. They were so reasonable, Mark. Let's have a cost-benefit analysis of these completely unprecedented policies that are being introduced. That never happened. There was never a cost-benefit analysis.
If you remember, when we first did this, we had a meeting with the Prime Minister and the government produced, was it called a cost-benefit analysis?
Was it?
No, and what was interesting about it, it got published, and before we'd even seen it, I think, your colleagues in the media had looked at it, and I think within about 5 minutes, most of them concluded it wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. And it wasn't, we didn't balance these things. And the thing that I really worry about, not just on the economy, but on the health service, the slogan that was used effectively scared people away from the health service, people who were ill. It caused other people who had what they thought may have been minor conditions to not seek treatment. And what we now know is there are something like 250 to 750,000 people who didn't get urgent cancer referral during that lockdown period. And you don't have to be very pessimistic to work out many of those people are going to have some very poor outcomes. I think we're going to be living with the impact on the health service and people's health for a very long time. And I think it's becoming really clear now, that we didn't balance these things out properly.